Alright YouTube, what is up? Ryan here, gonna tie this the Big River Jig is what I call this one. It's been a good producer for me for especially in the lower Niagara. I use this fly a lot. It's just basically it's an oversized bugger with a big old tungsten bead in it. It gets down quick with this tungsten bead, and it's on one of the Ahrex's new salt hooks. Let me look up the model number here for you guys. Alright, so that model number is SA254 salt jig hook. This is the size 2. So nice big eye on there. Super strong hook, saltwater hook. Yeah, I'm going to pop this one out of the vise and we're going to tie one up together. Okay, so there it is. This is how it will be presented in the water. Use this fly for smallmouth bass, all kinds of big trout. It was tied specifically for the lower Niagara just because it gets down quick. Just lets me get away with a little less split shot, which is always a good thing for keeping it untangled. So we got this hook here. This is the size 2 again. We got a 5.5 millimeter gold tungsten bead, and for these hooks I like to turn them around so that the slot is actually towards our eye instead of where it is usually back towards your hook point. Just lets that bead sit up in there pretty nicely. So we're going to stick this in our vise. Some type of way. Push that all up. Thread we're going to use for this one is Veevus power thread 140. It's just white. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Just going to start our thread right up by the bead. Just to seat this bead in place. Keep it all pushed up towards the front here. And then we're going to run our thread all the way to the back where we're going to tie in our first material, which will be the tail of this fly, which is Marabou. I'm going to come in with 2 pieces of Marabou just stacked on top of each other. I'm going to find 2 nice ones here. Alright, we got our Marabou here. I'm going to make this about 1.5 of our hook shank. We're going to tie this excess down part of the way up the hook. Come in with our second piece. Put that one right over top. Try and line those tips up. Come back with that. We're going to clip off all this excess and lash everything down and tight. Work this thread right up this body here. I'm just trying to get all this down. It's a little bit smoother. Okay, come in the back here for our flash. The flash I'm using on this one is going to be the thinnest size of the lateral scale. This is the Opal Mirage lateral scale. Just going to use 1 piece. We're going to cut it in half, and then we are going to tie 1 on each side of the hook and about 50-50 backwards. Tie 1 on your side, pull the back, come all the way back to the very back of our tying point here. We're going to bring in our next material, which is going to be some of the soft wire here. This is the silver color. Just matches a little bit better with the white pattern. Just tie that in towards the back. Move our thread up a little bit. We're going to come in with our next material, which is going to be our Schlappen feather. I like using the Schlappen feather just because it's a lot webbier. It's going to give us a lot more body in this fly. Prep that, wet your fingers, pull all of your material back on the Schlappen feather. It just will help it fibers not get trapped as we're working things, palmering the feather up the hook here. So we got that tied in. Come in with our Estaz. This is a standard size 15mm Estaz in Opal white. I'm just going to tie that in. Tie back over all these materials right to our tying point again. Now we're going to just lay down a little bit of a thread base up here just to try and even out this body a little bit. Should have ran those Marabou feathers up a little further, but you know, things happen. Okay, so we got our thread up front here. Just going to give that a little bit of a spin. Put a little bit of super glue down in our base. If it wants to come out, which it doesn't, there it is. Okay, we got the super glue. First material we're going to advance is our Estaz. I'm just doing touching wraps with this Estaz all the way up the shank of our hook. Just try and pull them back a little bit if you can. There's super glue on the shank, so don't glue your fingers to it. Now with this Estaz also I like to just give it a little bit of extra tug every few turns. This is a very plasticky feeling material, and it just it sits in there really nice and tight if you just give it that little bit of a tug every once in a while. Okay, just going to pull this material up top, spin up our thread a little bit, come over it with 1-2 wraps, then pull the material back, 1 wrap, and we can cut it out. Next thing we're going to move forward is our Schlappen feather. I'm going to follow that same path we took with our Estaz. Just going to space them out a little bit more because we don't have as much of this Schlappen feather as we do of that Estaz. You can really pack those the wraps of Estaz in there pretty tightly. And I like to just use this Schlappen feather right up to, if you have to use some of this Marabou looking stuff, that's fine. It's just right up near the head here. So same thing, we're going to come up top with it. We're going to trap it with 1-2 wraps, pull everything back, wrap or 2, cut out our feather. Come on out. Okay. Now that we got that out, we're just going to do a little bit of cleaning up here. Just make sure we don't have anybody trapped yet. Okay. Then we're going to take our wire and counter rivet. So this was tied on, if you're looking at the front of the hook, it was tied on clockwise. We're going to tie the counter rib counterclockwise. And this is just going to lock everything in here. And if something were to happen to the stem of this Schlappen feather, it will not break out. It'll just break in between these wire ribs, and you can still use your fly. It doesn't have a feather sticking out to the side. How do I know? So we're going to pull all of this material back. Just push down that piece of our wire pretty good. I'm going to come over top with a few little wraps here. Just make sure everything's secured. Then we're going to finish off our fly with half hitches or whip finish, whatever you like to do. Okay. Pull everything. I like to pull it all up towards the top. which is where I'm going to seal it with my UV. Well, the top now, which will be the bottom of the fly in the water. Snip out our thread. Come back through with the comb and just try to get anything that was trapped by the wire or a chenille even. There's some that are in there that are really hidden. You can get them in there with a hook or something, dig them out. Just get you guys refocused here. Now we're just gonna seal this up with the UV. Use my Solarez thin hard on this one. Just gonna put one spot of it right here. At some point. Must be getting low. Okay, got a little bit right there. Just gonna hit this with our light. Speed this up for you guys. Okay, and here we go. Here you have it. Alright, this is our what I call the Big River Jig. Like I said, this is just a big, oversized, overbodied bugger jig. It's got a nice heavy bead up front, which allows it to get down real quick. I fished this on a floating line for bass as well, and done very well. The all these feathers in here, the Marabou, and then the little bit of Marabou in the front of the Schlappen here too. It just gives it that shake, that shimmer. It's a very effective fly. If anybody has fished the lower with me, we've probably fished this fly. I use it a lot. It helps out getting everything down. We've caught tons of different species on it. All the trout, lake run trout mostly, bass, hybrids. We've caught quite a few different species on this fly actually. It's just an oversized bugger, and what does a bugger not catch? You know? Alright, well, thank you everybody for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll have another one coming for you shortly. Thanks again.